A lot of Faith builds often revolve around incantations, and anyone starting off with a Prophet class can quickly see why. However, many Tarnished overlook an assortment of really solid weapons and other options for Faith builds that are available very early in their journey. Similar to my other weapons for new Tarnished videos, all of these weapons will be obtainable after getting Torrent, and they won't require much combat to pick up. Unlike I did with Intelligence though, this video won't cover any seals or paired incantations. Hopefully I can get some of you away from spamming Catch Flame at everything, as we go snag us some weapons for Faith builds. The Faith stat is based around casting incantations and wielding sacred armaments, usually also dealing holy, lightning, or fire damage. Some Faith weapons, skills, or spells will also deal increased damage or cause interesting reactions when used on certain foes, with some even preventing undead from reviving. All of the weapons for Faith will require a rather heavy level investment, and I highly recommend braving the Limgrave wilds and dungeons while you gain the required runes, getting used to the game as you invest your points. The first weapon worth mentioning is the Winged Scythe. Requiring 16 strength, 16 dexterity, and 24 faith to wield, this also causes 55 blood loss buildup on hit and deals mostly holy damage. Even if two-handed on a Prophet starting class, you'll need a minimum 6 levels in dexterity and 8 in faith. Once you can equip it though, you'll be able to wield one of the best early game faith weapons in all the lands between, and a personal favorite of mine. The Winged Scythe comes with the standard Reaper moveset and the standard anti-block, allowing you to chip at least 40% damage through guards. This deals the highest baseline damage out of any Reaper, and scales very well as you level and upgrade it, allowing it to stay viable into New Game Plus and beyond. Another major positive for this weapon is its unique weapon skill, Angel's Wings. Costing 17 FP, you deal a 2-part slashing attack that momentarily suspends you in the air. Dealing damage with either slash will block the use of any Flask of Tears, making this a strong skill to use in PvP, or against the few foes in the lands between that can drink to heal. When you're in the air, you can potentially dodge attacks that would otherwise hit low or mid, giving even more utility to this strong weapon. As for its weaknesses though, the Winged Scythe is the shortest Reaper by a decent amount, and it's definitely noticeable if you use any other Reaper. And as I stated earlier, this also deals primarily holy damage, and as you near the endgame, many bosses will be resistant to holy damage, making you work a bit harder to get the job done. However, all in all, good with the bad, blood loss and stat requirements factored in, this weapon certainly can carry you through to the endgame. To find the Winged Scythe for yourself, we'll head down into the Weeping Peninsula. Starting from the first step side of Grace, we'll mount Torrent and head east off the ledge and follow a Geel Lake shoreline. Beyond the Kaiden Rider, you'll come to a pond with some crabs, and behind them to the southeast, you'll want to grab the Geel Lake south side of Grace. From here, join the road to the southeast and follow it down to the Bridge of Sacrifice. Be careful on your approach, as the Ballista will dismount you or straight up kill you. However, once you dodge the initial shot, as long as you keep moving, you'll be safe, and can grab the site of Grace on the other side of the road off to the west. Remounting Torrent, we can get back onto the road and go beyond the Broken Cart and Misbegotten. Past the Scarab, take the dirt path leading north and run through the pond ahead, jumping up the rock behind it to grab the south of the Lookout Tower side of Grace. Continuing on, we'll go west, sticking close to the cliff base on your left. Cross the wooden bridge and go beyond the Guardians and their spears. Follow the path all the way north to the Church of Pilgrimage, where you can grab a site of Grace and a sacred tear. Exit the church and head south-southwest, beyond the flock of sheep and ruins to your left, turning southwest at the second large ruin. Here, we'll enter the Tombsword ruins, and right in front of us, we'll have some steps down into a basement to be greeted by 2 pages. I'll be completely honest, this will take a few tries for some of you, as the pages wield crossbows and thrusting swords, dealing high damage and from a decent range. If you've chosen the Prophet class at the start, you will have an easier time, as you can drop each page with 3 casts of Catch Flame. Once you've cleared your way, you can safely open the door on the other side and loot the chest to receive the winged Scythe. Our second overpowered early game weapon for Faith users is the Treespear. Requiring 15 strength, 22 dexterity, and 18 faith in order to wield, this great spear will deal partially holy damage. If you started with the Prophet class, you'll need 12 dexterity and 2 faith in order to two-hand this, and an extra 4 levels in strength if you want to one-hand it. Although this scales with faith, it actually scales better with dexterity as it gets fully upgraded. Requiring such a big investment, why include it as a faith weapon? Well, that's partially because of its unique ability to be affected by weapon greases and spells, regardless of it having a locked weapon skill. This allows faith builds to imbue the Treespear with fire, lightning, poison, or even more holy damage, doubling down on the benefit of putting points into faith, since incantation buffs themselves scale purely off your faith stat when applied. This allows the Treespear to be extremely flexible to anyone holding a seal, dealing increased damage or even triggering status effects based on your target's weaknesses. On top of the buffing, this boasts a unique heavy attack moveset, with the first attack thrusting and the follow-up slashing downward. Fully charged heavy attacks deal a ton of poise damage and easily stance break enemies, allowing for frequent critical strikes. This great spear has some solid reach, and you'll find great use when shield poking, especially given how well it hurts poise. And since it deals pierce damage and is capable of counterattacking, it can be buffed by the Spear Talisman, granting 15% more counterattack damage. The weapon skill locked to the Treespear is Sacred Order. This will cost 18 FP to grant a 60-second buff, increasing damage by 10% and dealing double damage against those who live in death, also preventing skeletons from reviving. This damage buff unfortunately will not stack with any of the greases or spells this can be affected by, but it serves nicely as a filler until you get some weapon buff incantations. Heavy initial investment aside and skewed scaling, if you're looking for a strong faith build weapon with some very high stance breaking potential and flexibility that can work around many resistances, you should definitely consider using the Treespear. If you'd like to pick this up for yourself, you can start at the Gatefront site of Grace and follow the road west. Dash beyond the falling giant and through the barricades past the soldiers. After the Wolf Tornado, hop up on the rocks nearby the shack off the road to the right and grab the Stormhill Shack site of Grace. Mounting Torrent, we'll rejoin the road and head straight north, staying the course as it bends west under the large archway. Through the trees, you'll come to a broken bridge with a finger reader greeting you. Go to the end of it and head west down the rubble, following the path ahead winding around the cliff that holds Stormvale Castle. Beyond the wolves, after the castle wall on your left, follow the dirt path southwest to grab the lake-facing cliffs site of Grace. If you do choose to rest here or anywhere within Liurnia, it will trigger Melina's invitation to the Round Table Hold, and it's all good if you accept. Once you finish up, just fast travel back to the Grace and continue following along. From here, we'll follow the path west downhill through the ravine and beyond the enemy camp to find another Grace at the lake's edge near a merchant. Now we'll mount Torrent and head east until you cross the lake and reach the cliff base, then just follow them north until you can go uphill towards the east again. Once you're able, turn south and give the pack of marionettes a wide berth, going east-southeast to join a road. Off the right-hand shoulder, nearby a tall rock, I recommend grabbing the Liurnia Highway South side of Grace. From here, we'll get back on the road and follow it all the way to the end, where we can find a lesser giant and a broken cart. Now the giant will aggro when you get close, but you can just pass by and head down to the broken cart. If you're quick enough, you can open the chest in the back and loot yourself the Treespear. My final weapon for faith builds took me a bit of time to figure out, but I'm confident in recommending the Cipher Pata. This fist weapon requires heavy faith investment with a requirement of 30 points in order to wield. This also deals pure holy damage, a trait only shared with the coated sword. Similar to other fist weapons, attempting to two-hand this will power stance a set instead. Dealing both slash and piercing damage, the attacks come very fast from these, allowing you to take advantage of what would normally be very tight windows of opportunity. The range and reach of this is extremely impressive for a fist weapon. Dealing pure holy damage, it's also very buffable, being directly affected by any holy damage boosting items. Something not exactly well known with fist weapons is that they have pretty high poise damage, and are able to use their fast striking chains and heavy attacks to quickly break an enemy's stance and frequently take advantage of critical strikes. This stance breaking potential is specifically strong with the Cipher Pata, thanks to the semi-unique weapon skill also shared with the coated sword, Unblockable Blade. Costing 17 FP, you imbue the armament with Holy Light and thrust forward. This attack deals a large amount of poise damage, and as the name implies, is entirely unblockable. Using this against any shielding foes will pierce right through, regardless of their holy damage resistance. With such short startup and recovery frames, this skill is spammable multiple times, given that the enemy staggers off the initial hit. The Cipher Pata may seem like a pretty niche item, but pairing it alongside any incantation-based build will give a lot of versatility. Aside from having melee damage option to deal critical strikes, this makes a fantastic last resort when something gets just a bit too close, or you face a heavily shielded foe. Overall, this fist weapon is remarkably useful and seamlessly integrates into almost any faith build. To find the Cipher Pata for yourself, you'll just need to gain access to the Round Table Hold. If you've yet to receive your invitation from Melina, there are two ways to trigger it. You can either travel to Caelid or Liurnia of the Lakes and rest at any open world site of grace, or you can try your shot and attempt to face Margit the Fell Omen. After his cinematic is triggered, resting at any open world site of grace will trigger Melina to invite you to the Round Table Hold. I do recommend before you continue that you're entirely comfortable losing any runes you have on you, because death is just about certain. Once you're at the hold, go northeast to the balcony and jump down. When you land, you'll be invaded by Mad Tongue Alberic, but luckily he's kind enough to bow and give you a few moments. Head to the closest doorway on your left, then turn left again to continue into another room. At the end, take the door into the last room and head to the back. Resting on a bed, we can find a corpse holding the Cipher Pata. And that about wraps things up for my faith-based weapons for New Tarnished. I hope this video was helpful for you, and if it was, leave a like or a comment. And subscribe and hit that bell if you'd like to support the channel and be notified of all my upcoming Elden Ring videos. As usual, I'm StoneBear13, and thank you for watching.